Hello future tech leaders, I'm Sindhuja. Based on my own experience, I know that learning the right skills can shape our future. What if I say learning was as thrilled as the tech world itself? There we go. At CloudFoundation, that's exactly what you will experience. From day one, you will be immersed in the interactive sessions and expert-led courses that covers most of the widely used technologies in the zone of data science to cloud computing, which brings more light to the life of a techie. I'm so excited to help you and unlock the true potential of a technology. Well, then why to wait? Let's see what it unfolds. Join us as we dive into SailPoint, an identity governance technology, and discover how it helps businesses manage security and compliance.
So guys, let's get started. Today we are going to talk about application. Now compared to the installation, now it's negatively insulated. So we may have one identity called strum. So that I think got created, or you may call it importer, from that configuration file input process. Apart from that, we don't have any identity, we don't have any application, we don't have any policies, certification, nothing. So it's our ultimate purpose is to maintain these objects effectively. With the help of this unified portal, we can manage everything. But as of now, we don't have anything. So let's start. How to get these identities? First of all, if you want to get identities from the trusted source, what to do? So all amount of application onboarding we have to do. What is application onboarding basically? So what is application onboarding? So application onboarding is very simple. It's a process. Application onboarding. It's a lot of activities is going to involve in this. So you may call it as process application. Onboarding is the process of integrating, or you can call it as onboarding, whatever it may be. We are going to integrate any application within SailPoint so that we can provide our support to that application at certain level. If you are going to integrate this application each and every time, no need to rely on application team to check the application status to get the data. Once we have everything in SailPoint, we can manage efficiently here only. So application onboarding is all about integrating any application. It could be a third-party application or maybe any downstream application. We can integrate with SailPoint and we can manage everything. So here already we talked about briefly what is auth application, non-auth application, confirming, non-conforming, etc. Let me use whiteboard. Here we have SailPoint which we implemented. Now my question is, if any employee is going to onboard, I think already we talked about that. If any employee is going to onboard, what will be the process of hiring? Did I explain already? No worries. We have an employee called XYZ. He is going to join into ACME FinCorp company. ACME FinCorp is the firm name. So what will happen? What will be the next step? So HR source alert portal. HR will gather all the information including personal information, everything, and they will store in their source data. And after that, so whenever employee is going to join any company, HR people will gather their information and they will store those employee information in their portal, in their source data, basically. So this application already integrated with SailPoint, which means the application onboarding is done for the HR application. Can you name out few HR applications currently available in the market? Some advanced HR application. So you should know at least couple of application names like Workday is one of them. SuccessFactors, PeopleSoft, Employee Central, Oracle, HMM's application. So these are the advanced application what we have currently in the market in the name of HR application. So these are any one of these application will be used by your company. So that application need to be on board with SailPoint first. Once the onboarding is done, once SailPoint is able to communicate with this application, which means in this direction, if SailPoint is able to make communication with this application, then it's a good sign. So next step, SailPoint will get the data from this application from HR application, which means SailPoint will aggregate the user data. SailPoint will aggregate the group data so that accounts identities and lot of items will be created in SailPoint. We can manage efficiently. It's kind of data synchronization. So the data should be matched from here to here. So in this direction, you can call it as aggregation, which means I'm talking about this one. So you can call it as aggregation because SailPoint is going to aggregate the data. You may call it as reconciliation. So opposite direction, you may call it as provisioning because SailPoint will provide the access. Which means in this target, not HR application. Consider this is a target application. It could be any application. Now, so in this direction, SailPoint is going to create user of code in the target application. So you can call it as provisioning. Not only create operation, it could be any operation modify, delete, enable, disable, whatever it may be. So I hope you guys know what is aggregation and provisioning. And what is application on product? Let's take an example, Active Directory. So employee has joined this company. His identity got created via this aggregation process. So this identity can log in into SailPoint portal. Now he can submit access request to gain this Active Directory application access. Employee will log in into SailPoint portal. He will submit access request to gain this application. Access request, it's a kind of ticket. So once the access request got submitted, it will go for a certain level of approvals. After that, provision will happen. I was saying not employer-employee. They can log in into the SailPoint portal. Here we don't have any employer because each and every one like customer, stakeholder, partner, vendor, employee. So every item we are going to consider as a digital identity. That's a core objective of HIME, what we discussed earlier. So any employee, once the identity got created, they can log in into their SailPoint portal. They can submit access request for themselves or maybe for their subordinate. They can submit access and they can gain the target application access. So those read access, it may be read and write access. So those access permission is already created by the Active Directory team. And SailPoint already aggregated those group data as well. Correct? Yes. So now SailPoint, the employee will select the right permission. Whether they are looking for read access or whether he is looking for write access or both, it depends. So based on that, he will choose some entitlement. He will submit access request. So that request will go for provisioning and finally the user will get the target application access. I'll demonstrate, no worries. I'll demonstrate the entire process, but today we will onboard couple of applications, at least 2 applications. So the employee will join the company. Once the employee joins HR people, human resource people, they will gather all the information including personnel. Correct. First name, last name, email address, whatever it may be. So these information will get stored into the HR portal, which means it's application. It could be Workday application. It could be PeopleSoft employee, Central Success Factors. Or they may have some different application. So what I'm trying to say, this application is already integrated with SailPoint. because SailPoint needs some trusted source, genuine data, genuine source. So from there, SailPoint will aggregate or SailPoint will pull the user data and the identity will be created. So XYZ join a company. So here XC identity will be created. So once the identity got created, he will receive an email saying, this is your credential to access SailPoint application. So he can log in into SailPoint application and whatever access he is looking for, he can submit access request to gain the application access. And not only Active Directory, it could be any other application as well. So consider your Active Directory application team. So a lot of today, we have implemented SailPoint. But from last decade, we are using this Active Directory application and a lot of users are there. We are using Active Directory application, which means Active Directory has the user data. They have a place where all the user information will be stored. So from now onwards, application team, that Active Directory team is saying we cannot manage these users. We need just some other application to manage all the application. This is customer field. So now they are going to onboard this application with SailPoint. Not only this application, they may have plenty of applications. Each and every time we cannot rely on the application team. So once we have IAM solution like SailPoint, we can onboard all application at one place. And we can manage all the users very effectively. That's the purpose. So, as I said already, this application we can integrate with SailPoint. Because today we have implemented SailPoint. So what about already 2000 users or 2000 employees are using this Active Directory application? Already 2000 user data is available in this application. Now the moment we have to pull this 2000 application user account as well, the moment you are going to start to pull these 2000 user data, the process you can call it as aggregation. The existing user data you are going to pull or you are going to fetch it from the target application. Today you have implemented SailPoint. So you have pulled all the 2000 user data. That's fine. So tomorrow some 20 people are looking for this application, Active Directory application. Now you cannot see application. You cannot reach application team to provide the access manually. Because we have implemented SailPoint. It's an automated tool. So we should instead SailPoint to create user account. It could be manually, it could be automatically. Whatever it may be the process. So we should ask SailPoint to provide the access. Now, SailPoint will take care of that activity. SailPoint will make sure so all 20 people, whoever is looking for that Active Directory application access, they should get the access without any interruption. That's the high-level idea of implementing, one of the idea of implementing SailPoint. Here guys, consider we don't have any identities. These identities created manually. So you can skip this. And always remember, in SailPoint we don't create any identities manually. That's against the policy. Usually the identity will be created in the process of HR application account aggregation. HR application aggregation. We are not going to create any identities manually until unless if there is a specific requirement. We don't create any identities manually. Just keep in mind that. Now guys, except SP admin, we don't have any identities now. So go to application, application definition. Already you have onboarded. Consider here we don't have any application. We are not able to delete this application directly. So better we go to debug page, from there we will delete. And we shouldn't do this guys in real-time environment. So select the object type called application. Select a particular one. And delete. And before deleting any object, for a better practice, take a backup of that object. In SailPoint, you should follow that. Before deleting anything, take a backup. So now we are going to do application onboarding. As I said, once again, I'm telling it's a process. It's nothing fancy. Application onboarding is a fancy word. Here we are going to create the application so that we can store all the configuration data like credential information. Basically, we are going to instruct SailPoint. So we have application called Active Directory. How to access that application? So we should instruct SailPoint so that SailPoint will access that target application, whatever application it may be. So we are going to provide a credential where to access, how to access everything we will mention. So click Add New Application. So always remember, whenever you are going to do any application onboarding, definitely we require a lot of data, application data, like username, credential, password. But then, what type of application is this? What will be the application name? Who will provide the IT support for application? Whether the application requires provisioning from SailPoint or not. How frequent we are going to aggregate the user data, whether it's a critical application or not. A lot of questions will arise. So better we can have a working session. We can schedule a call. We can schedule a meeting. And we can have a working session with application team to gather these information. This could be one of the way, or else if business analyst is there, then they will get these data. They have a few and they will provide it to you. So you can do this application onboarding very smoothly. So to do that, first we need to onboard the application. Second, we can. So this application name you can. Let's say already you had imagined you had a working session. You had a meeting with the application team and you got all the required information from them. So now we are going to onboard this application. As an application onboarding team member, as a support engineer, you have to feed the data at the place. That's it. We are not going to decide anything on our own. That's very important. So whatever data you got it from application team, you have to feed in SailPoint. That's it. So this is H, our application for full-time employee. Imagine. For contractor, they may have some other application. Who will be the application owner? You have to choose the particular identity. So what is the application type? This is very important. Where the data source data has been stored, it depends on that. The application type will be decided based on the source data, where all of this data has been stored. They have stored their own data application, in database, maybe in some directory, maybe on the cloud, wherever they have stored the data. Based on that, we have to choose this application type. So application type is nothing. It's kind of connector. And already I have explained what is connector. Connector is nothing. It's a mediator between the target application. Once again, I'm saying target application could be any application, any downstream application, any third-party application. It's a mediator. It will act as a mediator between the target application and SailPoint so that the aggregation and provision will happen smoothly. Some connectors support only aggregation. Some connectors support aggregation and provisioning both. So make sure you have selected the connector, and the connector will be decided based on the source data. Connector and application type, both are same here. Now can you go to LMS portal? I would like to check whether they have provided any source data or not. We are not going to onboard any connectors. The connector is a SailPoint feature. Application types. Application type will be decided based on where the data has been stored. As I said, the data could be stored in the database. The database means for database, we have a specific connector. If the data has been stored in the directory like Active Directory or some other application, then for that we have a direct connector. Some applications have the direct connector like ServiceNow. Let's take an example of ServiceNow. For ServiceNow, we have a direct connector. You got it? For Workday, we have a direct connector. Let me show you that. See if you want to onboard Workday application. Then we have a Workday connector directly. If you want to onboard someone like Sybase, Top Secret Backup Mainframe application or Salesforce, we can onboard. So we have imported one configuration file and we have imported a lot of identity objects, and I have shown we have imported some connectors also. So by default, we have more than 70 or 60 out of the box connector. This is their source data. Like they will feed employee data, first name, last name, manager name, full name, email, department, region. So these are the field value they are going to store for all the employees. That's fine. Now we are going to onboard this authoritative application. The application name could be anything. This is the source data. So how to pull the data from this application? That's what we are going to talk about. Can you go to the SailPoint? So now the data has been stored in the Excel sheet. It's a comma separated value, the extension type. So if the data has been stored in the Excel sheet and the format is comma separated value, which means .csv files, then you have to choose the connector called delimiter. Can you select the application type called delimiter file? If the data has been stored in the database level, then you have to choose JDBC. If the data has been stored in the directory, it depends whether you are going to choose LDAP direct connector or you are going to choose the direct connector called Active Directory. It depends. SailPoint will pull the data from the HR application. Because we are not going to create any identities manually. So the application type is delimited. The moment we have chosen the connected type or application type, the remaining tabs will open like configuration. So inside this configuration tab, we will feed all the configuration data, application configuration data. Basically, we are going to instruct SailPoint. Try to gather this configuration data so that SailPoint can access the target application. That's the purpose behind that. Now we will feed all remaining data. HR, application name owner, application type description. If they provided anything, we can mention or leave it as empty. Revoker, who has access to revoke this application. If they provide the identity name, you can select this from drop-down or leave it as empty. So proxy application and profile class we are not using anymore. So you can skip this. If they have any proxy application and they want to mention, you can skip. So this is an authoritative application or not? This is very important. What does it mean? Authoritative application. Restored one. So here, if you are going to enable this checkbox, which means we are going to instruct SailPoint. This is the source data which you can rely on. It's a genuine data. So we can inform SailPoint basically. So case insensitive. So this application have some data. It could be case sensitive, insensitive, insensitive. So we are going to check this so that we can avoid the errors when it comes to provisioning. Usually we won't uncheck this. Native change reduction. It's a very important chapter. We are going to talk about this later, but have some idea the moment you have implemented SailPoint. Now you are the authorized person to make any changes in the target application. No one should make the changes on the target application directly. So once you are authorized person, now SailPoint is authorized medium. So if anyone is going to make any changes in the Active Directory application directly, it's not the approach. So SailPoint will deduct those changes as well with the help of this NCD native change reduction. If anyone is going to make any changes in the application directly, SailPoint will deduct, and based on the requirement, it will escalate. Maybe we can inform user manager. Maybe we can remove the access immediately. It depends on the requirement, but we can do that with the help of NCD. And we'll talk about that later. This maintenance enabled mode I will explain in the application of coding chapter. Now let's go to configuration tab. So here we have three tabs: provisioning policies, schemas, settings. Provisioning policy, again, we have a separate chapter. It comes under form. So go to settings here. We are going to instruct SailPoint where the file will be stored. What will be the encoding language? Because the SailPoint has to read the file, SailPoint has to read the source data and where the file will be stored on a daily basis. And what will be the passing type? We have to mention everything. So can you mention the file path name? I mean the file path where the file has been designed now. That's it. Go to the file path, mention the file. So c:/authemployees.csv. What is that CSV? That's very important. Home a separated value. Because SailPoint cannot read other file extension like .xlist something. SailPoint can't read other type of Excel format. SailPoint will read only CSV form. Encoding language. We have different type of encoding language like UF8 and all. Let me take control. So it could be UF8, UF8BOM, whatever it may be. So we are not going to decide if application theme is going to provide. This is the encoding language which we are following. So in that scenario, you have to mention or else skip. So file transport where the file has been stored. So as of now, the file is in our local machine. So you can choose local. If the file has been stored and they are going to update the file on a daily basis, quarterly basis, monthly basis, weekly basis, we are going to store it somewhere. They are going to replace or whatever it may be. So it could be a particular server. It could be some drive. So the application team, again, they will provide the shared path. So where they will provide some server name and we need to access the server. So they will provide a credential too. So FTP file transfer protocol, secured copy protocol, whatever. So you can choose that. So passing type. So we should instead say SailPoint. SailPoint is going to access this feed file. In real-time corporate environment, we will call it a speed file, not as Excel sheet or spreadsheet. We should call it a speed file. So the feed file contains the user data, so we should insert SailPoint, how to access this feed. So in that scenario, you have to mention, can you open the feed file? Whenever the iteration is going to happen, SailPoint will read line by line. The first line, second line, third line. SailPoint cannot read column A, column B, column C. So we should insert. Column A and column B will be separated by some value. So that SailPoint will be column A. This is column A. This is column B. Column C. We are paying more attention because you are going to onboard a lot of application in this connector type only. As I said, most of the time, 60% of the application will choose this delimited or J, B, C connector. Still they are losing. Here you could see column A, employee ID, and column B, first name separated by comma. Here in this scenario, you can consider comma is the passing time. Instead of comma, it could be pipeline. It could be some other expression as well. So now I am going to mention comma is the delimited type. So file has the column header on first line or not. You have to mention file has a column header or else SailPoint will consider the first line as an identity and it will create the identity. So schema, let's go to schema, or else maybe we'll hit the test connection now. So unable to open file stream. So SailPoint is not able to open the file itself. What could be the error? So the double inverted comma that causing an issue. So once we remove SailPoint is able to access the file. Retrieving file stream was successful, but SailPoint is not able to iterate object. SailPoint is not able to iterate these identity objects, whatever employee data it's mentioned in the file. SailPoint is not able to iterate because the accruent schema doesn't have any attribute. The accruent schema means this button. The schema doesn't have any attribute. We have to declare all the attributes to one paper. Employee name, first name, last name. Since we have already mentioned the file has a column header. Correct. So you should consider these as an attribute. Employee ID is attribute. First name is attribute. Last name is attribute. So we should consider these as an attribute. So we have to declare. So employee ID is one attribute, first name, and we can store the values. So how to do that? You have to add it one by one manually. And finally, do not forget to like, share and subscribe to our channel.